TTArtisan sent us this 40F2 and we're comparing it directly to the Nikon 40F2. Comparing it with rendition, sharpness and how it kind of feels and looks on the camera. And TTArtisan actually sent this the same time as all the other big YouTubers for the launch date, and that's really big for our channel. I don't think we've ever had a lens for the launch date before, along with all the other big YouTubers. So this is really fun, and I'm going to do my best to give the review, whether it's good, bad or ugly. So let's talk about the build of this lens. And as you can see, it's almost exactly the same build and size as the Nikon version. The Nikon version has the retro design version and the modern look. Obviously we went for the retro design because it's a bit cooler. Goes with the ZFA well. The TTArtisan is smaller but well built, hard plastic, feels premium quality, no problems there at all. Doesn't mention weather sealing anywhere, so that means it probably hasn't got any. I can't see a gasket on there. The same as the Nikon lens, isn't weather sealed officially either. And I can update it through the lens cap, so don't lose the lens cap because it got a USB connection on there. So it's 167 gram for the TTArtisan, and the Nikon version is 170 gram as well. So same weight considerations there. Although the TTArtisan comes with a lens hood, which is kind of nice. The Nikon version doesn't, but you can get third-party ones, I think. Well, the price is one of the main considerations of this lens. It's £159 at the making of this video, almost the same as the weight, 167 gram. That's good, pound per gram, almost. Yeah, and that's a bit of consideration with this lens. With the price of this lens, you can't expect it to be premium quality, or can we? Can we now? I'm not sure. But you have to have these considerations when considering sharpness and rendition. So £200 versus 159. Would I consider that decider to get one or the other? I wouldn't. For my personal taste, that wouldn't stop me getting either of them, depending on which one suits me better. So let's go to the main thing, sharpness. And this is at 80 centimeters on a tripod, and for me they look almost identical without cropping in. 100% crop. Again, they look almost identical to me. Sharpness wise, I would actually say the TTArtisan is a touch sharper. 2.8, the TTArtisan is definitely sharper. It has a very crispness to the owl here, the textures, especially on the P. At F4, again the TTArtisan is sharper, but they have leveled up a bit more now. So also compared it to the Nikon 35 1.4, which isn't an S lens, but it's interesting to compare because it's a lot more expensive. So I've zoomed in a bit more with the 35 to get it level, but I'd say the 35 has a better image rendition. It's a bit more contrast and a bit more sharpness. Even at 1.4, at F2, you can definitely see the sharpness difference of the 35 is a lot sharper, higher contrast, more saturated colours. Minimum focal distance, so this is at 40 centimeters for both lenses. 100% crop, you can see the poor image quality at minimum focal distance of both of the lenses. They're both hazy, low contrast, low colour, low sharpness. And you can see the chromatic aberration coming through. Let's look at the bokeh. Looking at the bokeh, the Nikon lens has harder edges and the TTArtisan is smoother, but they're about the same size. At 2.8 it gets a lot better, with sharpness, contrast, colour all coming back. Again, almost identical here at minimum focal distance. F4, sharper again, better contrast, better colour, much more usable. Versus the 35 1.4, wide open at 1.4, it's much better. Contrast, colour and sharpness is obvious there. And when they're on the same settings, F2, set exactly the same, you can see the 35 has much better image rendition, sharpness, everything. So I used the 40 F2 for some street photography, and I really liked some of the images that I came out with. I like the subject separation at F2. It is sharp enough, and I like the separation there, really nice. And this is a sunny day, so the colours will have more pop and contrast because of the weather. Although I did notice that the focus speed is noticeably slower to get the acquisition. When I was walking around, I didn't have this trouble with other lenses. But 40mm is a really nice focal length for street. So the background in this is noticeable in that it's a bit weird and a bit hazy, a bit fuzzy. The bokeh and compression here is a very odd at f2 sometimes. You can see at f2 the vignetting is very heavy. 2.8 it gets a bit better. So yeah, in summary with sharpness, the TTArtisan lens is sharper than the Nikon lens, but at close minimal focal distance they are both poor. Even though the Nikon lens has a 0.29 minimal focal distance, it's almost pointless unless you're going to stop down quite a lot. So when it comes to rendition, they are both very similar again, both quite poor compared to professional lenses, but you've got to expect that for the price point, that they're not going to be inferior, going to have chromatic aberration, high vignetting, wide open. Focusing, yeah, I would say they're very similar, different mechanisms. The Nikon lens is silent, the TTArtisan. I've had some issues with TTArtisan with real world situations. When I was going around street photography, I found it quite slow sometimes to find the acquisition and to go from in and out. And I'm using my Z8, which is fantastic for focusing. It was a bit better with the Nikon, but again, this isn't that fast for focusing either. But for casual street, they were both good, they're both fine. The Nikon 35 1.4 lens, and obviously, as you can see, it's a lot, well, it's twice the height and probably twice the weight as well, and over twice the cost, probably 3 times the cost. I got it for about 450, I think. It's much sharper than these lenses. The rendition, contrast and colour is all there. And with, yes, but the nice thing about the TTArtisan is that it does have a clickable aperture, which is really nice. I love that. When I'm doing street photography with aperture lenses, I just control it aperture priority and just change the aperture. Something that Nikon lenses don't have. Sometimes they have controllable rings on them, but don't use it for aperture. It goes far too loose and you can change it all the time, and it changes too fast as well. So I wouldn't recommend that. For my use case, I use the D700, the Nikon 35 f2 with my D700. I love it, and again, it's aperture ring, clickable, and I just control pretty much the camera with the aperture control of that, and it's great, fantastic. It has a really nice look to it, doesn't it? And I don't know why Nikon just don't do that more. Even have the same focus ring look, which they incorporated into the Z. But so in conclusion, which one, if you're going to buy the Nikon version or the TTArtisan 40 f2, which one would you go for? Well, if you like sharpness, I would consider the TTArtisan is the one to go for. Everything else is pretty much the same. But for me, well, this is Loz's version of the 40 f2 because I sold mine recently. I had a big clear out, and because I have the 35 1.4, which is better than both these lenses, but for me, considering the weight issues of this, I'm fine with the 35 1.4, especially on my Z8 with big grip. Even on my ZF, it's fine. I think the image quality, rendition, and overall experience with the 35 1.4 is much better than these two. The TTArtisan f2 is good for its price. You can't expect premium sharpness rendition for that price, and that's what TTArtisan are doing. I just think they missed an opportunity to fill in the gap where Nikon haven't supplied us yet with some premium quality lenses. And I think, well, it's so similar to the 40 f2 we already have, I'm not sure why people would switch. The sharpness are very similar in real world situations, unless you're under, you're going to crop in 100% all the time. and you have the aesthetic of the retro design if you go for that one. So it's good for the price, and it's cheaper. Of course, if you're budget and you just want something, a 40 F2 to throw in your bag, then this is great for that. And I hope you guys have found this review interesting. And remember to sign up to our channel to get previews of exclusive videos, and you get the sneak previews of these videos first before anyone else. But more importantly, it supports our channel. Having you sign up to our channel, buy us a coffee, really makes the difference to keep us going. So yeah, there we go. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.